I welcome Jon Allen to the program, columnist for Roll Call, joining me from Washington. Jon, the candidates' thumbs have been very busy this morning. I want to mention something that Jon Allen said to me earlier today, that he felt like Paul Ryan hadn't gone so far as to completely unendorse Donald Trump yesterday because he feared perhaps this, Donald Trump going nuclear upon him and perhaps turning Trump supporters away from congressional races that the speaker yesterday made clear are the most important thing, at least to him. It would appear that has come to pass, nevertheless.
Yeah, if that was Paul Ryan's goal, fail. Epic fail on that part. I actually think that Paul Ryan didn't unendorse Trump because Paul Ryan wants to have a future in Republican politics and is worried about being crosswise with the Republican base that is still largely behind Donald Trump, much like many of the members of the Republican conference are not going to abandon Donald Trump because, A, some of them actually like him and think he should be president of the United States, and others are aware that the vast majority of their constituents in heavily Republican districts are still behind Donald Trump. Is
that, it then kind of, it casts perhaps Paul Ryan at this point on one side of a spectrum that has, for instance, Ted Cruz on the other, somebody who jumped in late and has remained in even through the weekend, of course, the revelations that came about from that 2005 video. It would seem, if nothing else, though, we're talking about brazen political calculus at this point.
Yeah, I mean, if Donald Trump chopped off Ted Cruz's arms, I don't think Ted Cruz would unendorse Donald Trump at this point. I mean, what thing could come out about Donald Trump that would be worse than what Donald Trump did to Ted Cruz's family? He repeated allegations of infidelity against Ted Cruz, tweeted out unflattering pictures of his wife, and basically said that his father was involved in the Kennedy assassination. And Ted Cruz made an endorsement. So I don't know what, what interstellar event could happen to push Ted Cruz over the edge and be like, well, now that's the thing.
I saw a reference, in fact, on Twitter just moments ago that perhaps the GOP is facing an extinction-level event at this point. It's also interesting, just the litany of things that Donald Trump directed at Ted Cruz specifically. It's interesting, and one of the tweets I want to ask you about specifically this morning from the candidate, that the shackles have now been taken off of him. What do you make of that statement and what it suggests about the next 28 days?
I mean, I don't know what shackles Donald Trump is talking about. This is the most unplugged, unleashed candidate in the history of American politics, and so much so that, like, it's hard to think of people other than, say Gary Busey, who are more untethered to reality than Donald Trump. So, I don't know what he means by, like, being unshackled. I'm at a loss for what he could say that would help him, that would be less disciplined than the things he's been saying.
The Gary Busey comparison is, we're going to have to unpack that at a later date. We heard as well Donald Trump continue to acutely attack the personal history of the Clintons yesterday with the sharpness that even seemed to go further than what we saw over the weekend. He called the former president at one point a predator. He said Hillary Clinton, of course, viciously attacked the women whom her husband had allegedly abused. Is Donald Trump, if nothing else, it would appear that he is now a candidate with nothing to lose. What concern for Hillary Clinton?
I think the concern for Hillary Clinton is getting into the mud with Donald Trump and basically starting to argue the details of things with him, reminding voters of things that they don't like about her tenacity. I mean, he praised her for being a fighter, and I think that people do like that about her. A lot of people like that about her until it goes past a certain point. But for the most part here, I think she basically just has to put one foot in front of the other, walk healthily across the finish line and win this election. Donald Trump is quickly immolating, and the Republican Party is involved in an argument right now about the Republican Party and the future of the Republican Party, instead of a month before an election or less than a month before an election, being involved in an argument about the future of the country and the future of the American people. Yeah, that is a horrible place to be in.
It's a remarkable thing. If you just look at Donald Trump's tweets today, they are all directed at Republicans, lauding Democrats in so doing. Also, I suppose we can parse the ceremonial endorsement of the speaker with regard to Donald Trump. It has been an endorsement that has been tepid, obviously, at best. But as you mentioned, the polling now, the latest national poll has Hillary Clinton up 11 points in a 4-person race. at this point, a poll that had showed her to have just a 6-point gap at this time a month ago. All the numbers seem to suggest perhaps that victory to which you just referred. Is the real politic here, though, with regard to Paul Ryan, what he said yesterday, that we need to guard the congressional majorities from a Hillary Clinton presidency? I mean, you didn't have to read between lines yesterday. Paul Ryan just said it. Is it your sense that the GOP leadership believes that as well?
Yeah, I think the Republican Party leadership up and down believes that the focus has got to be on down-ballot races at this point. I think expenditure of resources from Republican-aligned groups has already been moving in that direction. Donald Trump is going to benefit from some support from the Republican National Committee, which is built to support the presidential nominee more than anything else, and almost to the exclusion of anything else. But everyone else is going to, in the Republican Party, is going to take their focus off the presidential from a leadership perspective, from an elected official perspective, from a party committee perspective, and from an outside spending and donor perspective. There is no gain for them in supporting Trump at this point, and there's plenty to lose if he starts to bring down more and more Republican candidates for Congress. Interestingly,
you used that turn of phrase, to the exclusion of everything else. It should be noted that we have now seen a WikiLeaks dump in a number of batches regarding emails from the inbox of John Podesta, the Clinton campaign chairman, over the last 48 hours or so. Nothing exceedingly damaging to a degree has come out of these emails, but it was thought perhaps that Julian Assange was the last big potential landmine for Hillary Clinton. Does that remain the case?
Yeah, it's certainly possible that there's stuff in her email that's embarrassing or potentially worse than that. We have seen several stories in the last week or so that would have been major news stories in a presidential campaign that would have been very damaging, I think, to her, or certainly somewhat damaging to her, that have been largely ignored. Because the person she's running against is bragging about sexual assault. And so, I think that in particular the Wall Street speeches where she talks about the difference between what she says in public and what she says in private would be damaging. A variety of other things that have come out in the last couple days would be damaging. I question what Assange has. I mean, if the most he has is Podesta emails from the last several months on the campaign trail, the last 2 years, I don't think there's going to be a whole lot that will derail her.
Get you out of here on this one, John. Just based on what you've seen, quite literally to this moment, this hour, what do you think Donald Trump's end game is here as he sees it? Which I suppose is to ask, in a way, do you think in his mind he's still running for president?
I do think in his mind he's still running for president, but I think the one thing that he has been unwilling to do is get crosswise with his base for very long. I think that there are multiple goals of Donald Trump, one of which is to build and maintain a brand, to be viable as a brand, and as a result, when you see him start to fall, he quickly leaps for the base. He quickly leaps for the people who are the biggest Trump supporters already to make sure that they are reassured. I think we saw that in the debate the other night, as opposed to making an effort to reach out and expand the tent for him, which is what you would normally do in politics.
Oh, that word normally. I remember that. I remember that word, John.
Norms, folkways, customs, all gone out the window.
Traditions, yes.
2016, thank you.
Precedent. Goodbye, precedent. Roll call, Jon Allen. As always, appreciate the time and insight, my friend.
Take care, man.